there, geeks and degenerates. I'm Nina, and together with me today is Enzo. And today we'll be talking about the 1991 film starring Jodie Foster, Anthony Hopkins, and Ted Levin, Silence of the Lambs. It's a kind of horror, psychological thriller kind of deal. It's directed by Jonathan Demme or Dem. It's D-M-E. Written by Ted Talley. It's adapted from a book, interestingly enough, if you guys haven't known about that. And it focuses on Clarice Starling, an FBI trainee who employs the help of killer Hannibal, the cannibal, to find serial killer Buffalo Bill. So this is going to be fully spoiler review, and we're going to be going into some very dark places, admittedly, if you haven't watched the movie yet. Again, it's spoiler, so that's it. So anyway, first of all, Enzo, I have to ask, what did you think of the movie? Like, what were your first impressions going into it? What did you know about it? And stuff like that.
Well, for me, everybody and their mom talked about this movie nonstop, praised it beyond to an insane degree that this is one of the best movies out there, and that Anthony Hopkins has such a. This is what put Anthony Hopkins on the map for them, and you can see why. As far as the movie goes, I saw this last year actually, and I was blown away by it. And for the review, I watched it the second time, and I was like, "My God, this movie is amazing." Uh, this is why it is one considered one of the greatest movies out there.
Yeah, I agree, honestly. Personally, I came into it knowing that as well. I basically came into it like knowing nothing other than it's probably disturbing. I had read up on it. I know the memes. I loosely say memes because it's kind of just Anthony Hopkins' shit, like the fava beans and the kind of stuff. Like, like I'd known about that, but personally, I was like so scared to watch it because when I asked my mom, she was like, "Oh, I got scared of it," and I was like, "Oh my god, if my mom gets scared of it, I will probably get scared of it as well." But yeah, again, one of those movies that everyone says is really popular. It's really popular for a reason. It's one of those pop culture mainstays, I would say. And it's very fun to watch on. Not fun to watch, but it was
Sure.
very not fun to watch, yeah. But it was a very thrilling ride, I would say. But now we talk about Anthony Hopkins, but I do have to say Jodie Foster and Ted Levin had really good performances as well. So I wanted to ask you about the kind of what did you think of the actors' performances? Because it's such a the characters are such pivotal points of the movie, obviously. What did you think of their performances?
Um, Between Hannibal and Buffalo Bill, I would say obviously Clarice is the most not fucked up one. She, I mean, her background is tragic. That the fact that she lost her dad to a robbery, and she, through her sheer will, made herself become one of the top agents in the FBI, and she's trying to prove herself that yes, I do belong in the FBI, and this is a world that's dominated by guys, men, and then every guy is looking down on me like, why is she here? And it's a constant battle to prove herself to herself and to
Mm-hmm.
her peers that she is worthy of staying in the FBI. And Jodie Foster does such an amazing job of bringing this character to life. And Clarice is amazingly human. She has all these flaws and insecurities, and she has to overcome these. And you really root for her in these situations. And for Anthony Hopkins, he's just mesmerizing to watch this Hannibal. It blows my mind that if you add all the scenes together, I think it comes down to like 10 minutes of screen time only. And you're like, I thought he was there longer. It felt longer.
Yeah.
And Buffalo Bill is just one disturbing character altogether. It's like, I don't know what's worse, Buffalo Bill or Hannibal. Would I rather be skinned or be eaten? I don't know.
skinned or eaten though. It's a whole dilemma right there. Personally, yeah, I totally agree. I just think there's a reason that it won like 5 Oscars, like the top Oscars as
Yeah.
well. Screenplay wise, actors wise, supporting actors, actress. It's just they their performances were so amazing to watch. And I agree with you when it comes to Clarice. Um when you look at the way that she humanizes this person, this thriller usually at the time, I did some research. I did a lot of research for this because I really like the movie. Um, thriller female protagonists at the time were very caricature. They were very like the oh my god, very like oh my gosh, oh, I'm so scared, and it's kind of just it wasn't very good representation. Admittedly, it was just very like oh my gosh, I'm the woman, help me damsel, if I have sex I die kind of deal. But when you look at Clarice, you see a much more human female representation on screen, which is really something different, especially for the time that it came out. um Not to say that there wasn't good representation prior to that. It was just kind of the idea was it was far few and far in between
Right.
for women, right? For Anthony Hopkins, my God, I agree with you. Mesmerizing. Cannot stop watching. It's incredible how there is a kind of parang oh I can't. I'm trying not to speak Filipino. There's this
I
kind
mean,
of
you can.
I can, but like I'd prefer, for whoever ends up watching, I'd prefer not to. But like, there's just something about the way that he talks. There's a power dynamic between the both of them through sheer conversation. And they've never like they don't touch, they just look at each other. And somehow there's this incredible power dynamic between them that even if he is in a cell, even if he is like has nothing to go on, he's still able to kind of read her very well, except for one moment. And I want to focus on that moment later on, where he just is able to bring fear into you, like you feel unease.
Also, the director does a good job. Like, I like how every time it goes to Hannibal, there's like these close-ups of him, real intense close-ups of his face. Like, this is kind of disturbing or uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Especially towards the last act, we're like, oh my god, these close-ups are getting more and more uncomfortable to see.
yeah.
And it's his eyes too. You're like, my god, he's intense. This guy's
Yeah,
intense.
he's really intense. He did. I think they worked off of each other very well. The kind of close-ups as well as Anthony Hopkins' performance. They really, because Jonathan Demme, I will say Demme for the sake of this review, so I don't have to keep saying the other one. But Jonathan Demme, it's a mainstay of his style, and I think it just came best into fruition in this movie. Finally, for Ted Levin, even though he didn't have that much on-screen time, he was still very uneasy to watch. Like you could tell towards the end as well when there's a scene where he kind of like tries to caress her, like he does an air caress on her,
Yeah.
and when he talks to the victim, when he talks to her, it's very uneasy. You feel like, oh shoot, this person is totally unhinged. Like logic does not work. And I was just really impressed by that. Um so actually, interestingly enough, in terms of like Buffalo Bill, do you know where it came from?
I
The
have no
term?
idea.
Yeah. Actually, it came from kasi there is a showman called Buffalo Bill Cody who actually trigger warning for those who want to know, it's very again, we're gonna go into deeper topics, but he scalped a Native American, and that's where I know, and that's where the term Buffalo Bill came from, because it was he skinned his victims, right? So hence origin of the skinning killer. So yeah, that's something that was interesting to know. But in terms of the thrilling aspect of it, did you find yourself immersed? Because personally, I find myself having a difficulty getting immersed into movies at times, especially movies that are difficult to watch. So did you find yourself immersed in it? Like,
Well, in terms of it being a thriller, for me, the last act, definitely the last act, is the most suspenseful part of the film, because you're like, I hope Clarice makes it out of this, because her FBI buddies are in the wrong house. Apparently, she's alone with this crazed killer in the dark too, and he has night vision and she doesn't. You're like, what the fuck is going to happen? And yeah, the first time I saw it, I was just gripping the edge of my seat, going, "Fuck! I hope she doesn't die." I have no idea how the movie ends, but please don't die.
yeah, I agree. I was like, there was a point where I was so immersed. I was screaming. I was like, oh my gosh, don't die! Oh my gosh! Like, I kept talking. I was watching with friends towards the last act. I was watching it by myself for most of the part. But towards the end, I was with friends. And I was like, guys, oh my god. Is she gonna die? Is she gonna stay alive? I need to know. What about this fucking dog? Like, I hope this dog doesn't die either. Like, I was so tempted to search up. If you guys don't know, there's this site um called doesthedogdie.com, and it basically is like, if you want to watch a movie, you look at it and should give like trigger warnings for you, like, does something happen, and then they'll note when it happens. um but my friend was like, don't do it, because it's so pivotal knowing what happens to that dog. It's gonna be a spoiler. And I was like, oh shit, fine. So it was really immersive for me. I was really like, everyone's performance, the screenplay, the way that they just, everything was woven together. It's insane how good it was, honestly. It's like, it's one of those movies that you have a masterclass on studying, because it's just so good. And for those who don't know, sorry Enzo, before I go on to the next topic, I just want to preface everyone by saying I am, quote unquote, I very don't like using this term, but I'm a film student. So a lot of my questions will focus on like writing, screenplay, the way that the directing and stuff like that. So when I host, that's how it's gonna be for me. But anyway, before the tangent gets completely like, what did you feel about the subplot between Clarice and Hannibal? Because we talk about the main villain, I would say the main antagonist throughout the whole film was really Buffalo Bill. Everyone is trying to catch this guy. They're trying to save the girls, whatever, right? But we have a secondary villain. So what did you, and he made a connection. I would say he made a connection between our main protagonist. So how did you feel about that?
I thought it was very well done, especially like the fact that he's withholding information until she gives in to his demands, which is, I want to know about your backstory. What was your family life like? Oh, what kept you up at night? Why were the lambs keeping you up at night? Was there something about them? And when you catch Buffalo Bill, will the lambs finally stop screaming? Uh, but yeah, the fact that he kept prodding her until she gave in, like, all right, I have to think of the greater good, because Catherine's gonna die if I don't tell him what he wants to know about me. So here you go. Here's my backstory of my father, the lambs, everything. And he's like, all right, you played my game, and now I reward you with information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Actually, interestingly enough, the only time that he kind of fell into her, I noticed this. I don't know if you noticed this, but the only time he fell into her play was when she was saying, "There's a deal between the senator and you. If you tell me this information, I'll know. I'll you'll be able to do whatever you want. Go to that island with all the birds or whatever, right?" And
Right.
I feel like it was at that time where, because they were so connected with each other, that it was kind of like she just played it so well. Even I was like shocked when I found out that it wasn't real. The deal wasn't real until the actual senator was like, "Here's your real deal," and I was like, "Oh dang, she lied to him and she got away with it." That was really interesting, and I found that their power dynamic. I think he fell into it because he thought she needs me. Of course she needs me. I'm the one who can give her the information she needs. And it was just so interesting because the writing there was so superb, I feel. Like I was just like, shoot, it makes sense. Everything made so much sense that when I found that it was a lie, it completely blew my mind. But I think the subplot was really interesting in that it was just honestly it kind of got me, it made me so interested for a while that I completely forgot about Buffalo Bill for a hot second. I was like, dang, I forgot about him. Like, yeah, it was really interesting. It was really fun to watch. Well, I say fun loosely. When I say fun, I mean immersive. For those who don't know, when I say fun, I mean immersive. Of course, it's a fucking scary ass movie. Yes.
I mean, it can be fun. It depends on what you're into. Like, I like watching people hunt down serial killers. Sure, that can be your thing.
Yeah.
But if not, it's fine too. You know, to each their own.
Yeah. To each their own, indeed. I just feel like people might think I'm like a fucked up person for saying, "Oh, it's such a fun movie." And they're like, "There's two serial killers, girl. What you talking about?" I'm like, "I'm sorry. It's just, oh my god."
I mean,
That's the Gen Z in me coming out.
if you're into movies, this is one great movie. So you'll probably have fun watching this.
Yeah. Indeed, indeed. And I just want to talk about it and also, you know, the way you mentioned earlier about how Clarice Starling was treated as a woman. And admittedly, this movie does better representation for women, in my opinion, with their main character. But I noticed that there was this, obviously all the victims are women. And there's this thing where it's like there is kind of this disempowerment of women at the same time empowering the main protagonist, which I found really interesting. It was an interesting, I think the term is dichotomy. Big words coming from me, right? Big words. But as a woman kasi, watching this movie made, I don't know how much you can bring into this conversation, Enzo, because you're clearly not a girl.
Sure.
Grabe, no? But I feel that as a woman, this is, of course, everyone is afraid of getting murdered. But with the frequency of female victims of serial killers, the frequency of them is terrifying, especially these like really sadistic, fucked up ones. It's really it's a reality that we often face that I don't think men know about. Now, I'm sorry if I'm getting very social justicey on this, but I feel it's important to bring it up that this is a genuine reality that we all fear. Like people are like, "You're just being paranoid," but I'm like, if you look at the frequency of it, it's possible. You know, you just have to be that one unlucky girl.
I love how
Right?
I agree with you, but like, I love how we're addressing these topics as a follow up to redo of Healer. Or like,
Oh my god! Oh my god!
it's fine, it's fine. But like, yeah, folks, we had
Why
talked.
did they have to do redo of a healer? Why did they have to do redo of healer before me? Me, the feminist.
It's fine, folks. We do the general stuff, and we also talk about these very serious topics.
And in fairness, they had really good points in the. I don't know. I never watched the anime, but I watched the review on it. And in fairness, they obviously don't condone that. So don't cancel them, guys. They were asking don't be canceled. Don't cancel them. Don't cancel them, please.
Don't cancel them. Don't cancel us. We're a small YouTube channel. Have mercy.
That's what they said too. That's what they said too. They were like, "We're a small YouTube channel, please. We don't even have a chance yet. Give us like 50,000 subscribers, and then cancel us." Just
Wow.
kidding. It's a long way off, but I think for women out there, this is a genuine problem that we fear every day. That you just have to be that unlucky woman to that sadistic killer, and bye bye, you know? And I think it's interesting that it was good that they made it a female character who in the end foiled the plans and ended up admittedly killing the killer. because that also shows, okay, we can, there is something to overcome. And with a flawed character like them, I feel like it's great that there's representation for a woman to look up to someone who's flawed and saying, hey, she still did great. You know, she may not be perfect, she may be reckless at times, but she's still really good. I still can't get over your redo your comment.
No,
But yeah.
the folks need to know who we are. You know, they get a taste of the genre side and our love of movie side and our thoughts on these sensitive issues, which is good.
Yeah. Which is good. It's good. Again, they don't condone the shit that happens in Redo of Healer, guys. You can like a show and not condone the actions of what occurs. So that's like, I don't know what happens in the show though. So whatever they said, peace out. I ain't part of that. Just saying.
I mean, you can like Hannibal, you don't have to eat people. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, exactly. We like Hannibal as a really well written character. We don't like the person that he was based off of. But exactly. But in terms of representation as well, actually, did you want to bring up any more points, or are you okay with me going to the next topic?
You're right that I can't really add anything because I'm obviously not a woman. But it's nice that people get some sort of representation to look up to every once and again. Uh, but yeah, I just wish this trend of proper representation continues.
Speaking of proper representation. Sorry, again, this is me because I find these topics very important. And again, I want us as geeks and degenerates to kind of go into these topics as well without fear, because these need to be talked about. This is very heavy. I should have probably given you Enzo personally a heads up, but I want to talk about the representation of trans people in this movie, because clearly that was a hole. I was like, oh, that's a hole. They're digging really deep here, because I did research on this. So I, as geeks and degenerates, currently one of the few women, if not one of two, want to talk about.
We'll try to improve that. Please don't give a
We're
shit.
trying to improve that. I swear. We're very particular about who we let into our circle. We can't just let anybody, whether woman or man or non-binary, join. Okay? But for me personally, as the host, I would like to address, because when people talk about trans representation, when they talk about bad trans representation, this movie always comes up. Because for one, they use a horrible term, not a horrible term, but they use a very bad term to refer to them, very not politically correct, transsexual. They clearly made them a villain, and I'm not saying that there can't be trans villains. I'm just saying, if you're gonna do it, let's make it nuanced. Let's not make it their transness the reason that they are a villain. Because admittedly, if you look at this villain, which is very complicated, admittedly, but not nuanced in the best way, they talk about it, right? And so where they were like, oh hey, this villain is the way that they are because they think they're trans and they can't be butterfly transformation moth cocoon shit, right? They can't transform into what they want to be. And that's why they're killing women, because they want to be that and stuff like that. And it's really bad. It's just really bad trans representation. It's a complicated issue, admittedly, but I mean, if you think about it, like, why do you have to make the transness the villainy? You know what I mean? Like, the reason for it. Go ahead, Enzo.
No. This is how ignorant I am, because that thing went over my head when the first two times I watched it. I was like, huh.
Oh.
Buffalo Bill's is a villain, not because of that, just because like the movie writes him like, yeah, he's another serial killer. But that part of the plot just went over my head, going, I just don't know, huh? I don't know.
And that's not your fault, ah. It's just, for me kasi, these issues are really important to me. And I think for people watching, not to say that it's not important to you, Enzo. I'm just saying that when you've been exposed to these kinds of things, it's something that you're learning. And I'm glad that you brought that up because please, guys, don't be afraid to not know things. Don't be afraid to, because if you stay ignorant, it's worse. But the fact that Enzo is learning, that's a beautiful thing. And I think, yeah, it's just they made the chances the villainy, and I'm glad you noticed that now, and that I'm not like pulling shit out of my ass in the bad way, because I can pull shit out of my ass just fine. But like, if it doesn't make sense, I'm kind of fucked.
Yeah, it was coming
But
back to me. I'm like, holy shit, she has a point.
yeah, yeah,
Huh.
I'm glad you see that point, that it's the transness. It's, sorry if I keep using the word. Maybe if I'm using the wrong term. If for anyone in the comments, if transness or the trans identity, yeah, there you go. The trans identity is is the kind of center, the core of their villainy, and that's where it sucks for representation, because they always bring it up again whenever people talk about bad trans representation. This comes up, and this needs to change. And I'm glad, admittedly, it's been, so 1991 minus 2021. It's been 20 years. 20 years, yeah, 20 years since
30.
20. 30, sorry. 30 years. I can't math. I'm an art student. I can't math.
Me
I'm
too.
just kidding.
I used the calculator before and I'm like, yeah, it's 30 years.
30. Jeez. Oh my god. But it's been 30 years since then. Trans representation and the push for it has come a long way. And that's really important. And I'm glad, Enzo, that you learned about something new today, besides knowing about Buffalo Bill's origin with the skinning of heads. That was the whole thing. I learned that in American history. It was a really weird time. It was a really weird time where I had to learn about scalping. I want to, with those two really deep topics, I would like to move on to something a little lighter and something a little less less deep. But let's just move on to our final thoughts on the movie.
Ooh. Well, watching the movie twice, you can see why, as you mentioned, it won the 5 major Academy Awards, which is Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Picture, and Best Adapted Screenplay. And the movie before that won those 5 awards. Before this one was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So it's an impressive feat that not all movies have done since then. Uh, and you see why it's garnered such praise uh, throughout the years, especially with Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter and Jodie Foster as Clarice Starling.
Yeah. I honestly, you said everything that I wanted to say. I'm actually, can I just point out, guys, that was really impressive that Enzo knew the 5 top pictures. Even I didn't remember it, and the one who won it before. I was pretty impressed. I was like, damn, even as a film student, I'm not aware of that shit. But personally, I loved it. For as it's not a perfect movie, and personally for me, I don't think there is a perfect movie out there. Maybe there's perfect for you, but there is no perfect objectively, because it's an art form. It's very subjective. Um, but it was by far one of those movies, like those in bold and italics, those movies. And it's so great to be able to watch it, because it's just an experience. It's truly an experience that cannot be emulated anywhere else, because it's one of those movies that it's just up there. Enzo said everything I wanted to say, so I'm just kind of push it out of my ass. I'm just kidding. But for me, I would say it's a 9.5 out of 10. So what about you, Enzo?
I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Aside from the Buffalo Bill plot point that it went over my head, uh, everything else is perfect. I just wish I was about to say maybe they can do a remake. No, that's a horrible idea. Just keep it the way it is. We can learn from
I agree.
mistakes.
But yeah, we can. You don't. it's a capsule of its time. It's a product. There you go. It's a product of its time, and I'm not going to shit on it for that. I wasn't. By the way, for anyone, disclaimer: I'm not shitting on the movie for its bad representation. It's still a great movie, but you can love a movie and, like I said, not condone the messages that it spreads sometimes. And
Like
again,
redo a
product of its
feeler.
time. Like redo a healer. Please don't cancel us, everybody. Please.
Please. We're good people. We're all good people in this.
We're all good
group.
people. I don't know what went in their heads talking about redo of healer for our first anime review, or at least our first really degenerate content. Really degenerate content. So, but anyway, I think that's mostly it. That's all we wanted to say. Is there anything else you want to say, Enzo?
Here's a question for you: what makes a villain memorable, like Hannibal Lecter? Because we've seen a lot of great villains since then, and a lot of crappy villains since then. Like, what makes a villain like Hannibal or a Loki or a Joker instead of like whoever was the Dark Elf in Thor: The Dark World? Because I can't remember him.
I can't remember either. Personally, for me, what makes them is I think it's either motivation or it's the performance in the way they carry themselves and their actions as well. So motivation, their performance and the action. So obviously, a lot of the time, our villains are fictional, or even if they're not fictional, they're based on something. And there's lore around them that makes them so unique and interesting and captivating almost. And for Hannibal Lecter, personally, what stuck out to me was first Anthony Hopkins' performance. It's the lore and the way that they kind of made his made him heavy to talk to. Like, if you notice the way that they talked to Clarice prior to first meeting Hannibal, they were always like, he's gonna get in your head. Don't tell him anything. Don't do anything. There's all these rules talking about these are the things you don't do because he can get in your head. And that's the lore around him. And that's just so fascinating that a person can emulate like a demon. Like, like the when you hear about lore, you think about demons and fictional, grab it a minute. Sorry to Christians, I guess. Fictional like angels and demons, right?
Wow.
That's a
Pissing off all our fan bases, huh? Like, sure.
I know, right? Bro, I'm not redoing the healer. It's not my fucking problem. I'm just kidding. I keep shitting on them. That's where we're shitting on them. But anyway, it's more just like we're not shitting on them. We're friends. We're all friends
yeah,
here.
we're all friends here.
We're all friends here. But I just think the lore around him is so captivating, and Anthony Hopkins' performance, chef's kiss.
Yeah, you said everything I wanted to say, and like the fact that they explain the rules of Hannibal, and then you later see why he is so dangerous. Like, my God, this guy is quick and he's smart when he decides to attack you. With villains in general, it's very easy for some movies to be like, they're bad for bad. They want to destroy the world because they want to. But you're like, but why? Just tell me why. And that's the great way how they handle people like Magneto. He's a very great villain, and he's also very sympathetic. Like, I understand why he wants mutants to take over. Or like, you don't necessarily condone their actions, but you get where they're coming from. Like, say, Magneto,
Yes.
or even
Agreed.
Thanos. And some of the best villains out there don't need backstories, like Hannibal or Joker or many other villains. They're just fine the way they are.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah. It's just really because I was thinking like, does their backstory make them interesting? It's one of the things. But when I thought about it, I was like, Joker technically doesn't have a backstory, and Hannibal Lecter is just fucking weird, fucking crazy. That's what I kept calling them instead of, because I don't know the right term. I can't say they're psychopaths because I don't know what makes a psychopath. And apparently, a lot of psychologists or people in general have been saying, "Oh, psychopath," the wrong term. So I was like, "Oh, fucking no, fine. They're fucking weirdos. They're fucking crazy weirdos." But yeah, I think with that, we can end the topic here. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Thank you, Enzo, for coming on. And this is my first time hosting. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This is been Geeks and Degenerates. Geeks, Geeks and Degenerates. I did it. I did a fuck up now too. It's my clip that. Clip that. I'm also part of it.
It's better than my fuck ups, I tell you that.
Thank you for watching. This is Geeks and Degenerates signing out.
Bye.